So we've got some caves and cliffs news from Mojang today, that it's going to be split into two parts. Don't know how to feel about this really. I don't think they've done this before where they split a big update into two. I mean, this is, to be fair, a pretty big update. But I put together a little pros and cons list. Let's see. Yeah, here it is. So pros, probably. This is just from what they've said today. For delaying the full update and splitting it into two parts, the pros would be obviously performance. It talked about quality and stability of the update and proper world gen because they're lowering the bedrock 64 and they're raising the height limit 64, and a happy development team. So they obviously want the health of their team to be good and they don't want to crunch, so they're splitting it up into two parts. The cons: it's a two-part update, so will we be getting 1.17 and then 118, or 117 part 1 and then 117 part 2 later this year? Two major world gen updates for old worlds. So the first part of the update, people will have to consider updating and trimming old chunks, maybe because we're getting copper for sure in the first part, so you'll need new generation for that, as well as some other things. Smaller updates each. I typed this up earlier. I don't know exactly if it'll be smaller. I think both updates will probably be sufficient to call an update, so I'll just take that off the cons. And prolonged features. So yeah, features that have already been in the snapshots will not get in the first part, so that's unfortunate. But what are we actually getting in the first part of the update this summer? So I made a list here. I think has everything that has been officially stated to be in the first part of the update. Besides Skulkers, I actually was talking on my Discord earlier, and I think Skulkers might be in part 2 because they'll be in the lower world gen with the Warden, around the Warden and stuff, so maybe Skulkers won't be part of the first part of the update. But all of this should be, like the Geode Crystals are still on the today's snapshot, for example, and Goats as well. And Deep Slate blocks now will generate between 0 and 16. I don't know if that's going to change in part 2. So the features that are for sure in part 2 though: the new world gen, obviously lowering the world and raising it by 64 on both sides. The new cave biomes we'll get in part 2. I don't think we'll get in part 1 because the caves won't be any bigger. As well as like the new cave generation with the cracks and all that. I put Deep Slate here before I found out I think we'll still get Deep Slate in part 1. The Mossy Stone will probably be in part 2 because that's in the new biomes, as well as the Drip Leaves and the Warden as well. And Archaeology is delayed until after part 2. They don't know even when this will be coming out, which I don't really mind because it didn't look that great to me anyway. It just seemed kind of like a novelty thing. I think overall it's good on Mojang to break the update into two. So, you know, with the COVID restrictions still in effect, you know, in a lot of countries and different parts of the countries, I'm sure there are a lot of devs working from home or working less hours. The world gen, raising it and lowering it could definitely prove challenging. I'm sure this is coming from someone with no knowledge of Minecraft's code, mind you. I just assume they don't want people updating old worlds and then breaking en masse. Also with mob spawning, things must be changing drastically there, so hopefully they're trying to work out a way where mob farms efficiency isn't decreased by a significant margin. I think established servers or those with single player worlds will have a tough decision to make. Whether to update when part 1 comes out and get the new features like, you know, farmable shulkers, for example, or wait for part 2 to update and get them all at once. To be honest, I'm kind of leaning towards the latter, at least with my world. It may be just more beneficial to wait until update, you know, part 2, so you don't have to trim old chunks twice. That's my thought anyway. It's not clear yet how much it's broken up. You know, instead of caves and cliffs, will it just be cliffs, then caves? Or 117 will just be the copper update? I don't know. Then part 2 is 1.18 official caves and cliffs. Probably, I don't know, probably more questions than thoughts, I guess, with this whole thing. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of post this and kind of my thoughts on it and see what you guys thought. And you know, comment down below. Let me know what you think of this, splitting it into two parts with 117. All right, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.